Hi, and welcome to John Polly Says. I'm here with Linda Simpson, drag queen extraordinaire, superstar, icon. How are you?
I'm fine, John. You're exaggerating my fame and importance, but thank you.
You've been doing the Drag Explosion, presenting your historic photographs, photographs. And explain a little bit what it is, please.
Well, my photos are all from the late 80s or early 90s. During that time is when I first started doing drag in New York, and I took a lot of photos, all just for fun. I'm not a photographer. And it turned out, in retrospect, to have been this, incredible moment in drag history. And after being separated from it by a couple decades, I put it together as this story about the time.
When did you first do drag?
I started kind of playing around like late 80s. And then, Linda Simpson, my drag persona, probably was like up and running by like 88-ish.
And Simpson is your given last name.
Yeah, exactly.
Where did Linda come from?
Well, I was kind of looking for a goofball name because, not a goofball, but more, wild name because most of the people I knew were like Tabboo or Happy Face or Sister Dimension. And Tabboo actually suggested, why not just go for realness, Linda? And it seemed to work. It distinguished me a little.
Now, do you remember the first time you ever went out in drag and where'd you go?
Well, like I said, I was kind of experimenting, but I think the first real time where it became like really a, memorable experience was to the Pyramid Club.
Yeah.
It was just so much fun.
And do you remember your first impressions of RuPaul?
Ru, I remember meeting at Tabboo's place. Ru was really nice and fun. Tabboo lived in the depths of the East Village and it was very dangerous.
Right.
But that's why a lot of that East Village drag scene back then was so edgy.
Yeah.
Because, it was one thing to go out just on the streets to walk around normally, but to do it in drag, you know what I mean, was really pushing the boundaries considering the circumstance.
Let's look at the pictures. The first one is Linda and Glennda. Who's Glennda?
It's Glennda Orgasm. We were doing drag where drag normally isn't.
Yeah.
So it was just pushing these boundaries. That's what drag was about then. It was like going beyond the nightclubs and the bars out into the public consciousness.
Okay, next photo is the lovely and talented Bunny. Bun.
I took that photo of Bunny at Webster Hall, and that was the era of the mega clubs. There was Palladium and Limelight and Webster Hall, Club USA, etc. All these clubs that were capable of holding, thousands of people.
Right.
And drag queens were kind of the preferred form of entertainment in many ways. They were the door people, they were the go-go people, they were the hostesses. So it really was a great time for drag to become bigger and bigger on the nightlife scene.
Yeah. Deee-Lite, Lady Miss Kier, tell us who's this?
Well, Kier and Dmitry of Deee-Lite were part of that whole drag scene.
Yeah.
And Kier especially had a real drag queen sensibility. I mean, her name was Lady Miss Kier, for God's sakes. They were the biggest thing to come out of the downtown scene in quite a while, and they were super fun. I love their music still, and I think everybody does.
Next!
That's Leigh Bowery, the famous Australia and London-based eccentric. And Leigh would come into New York once in a while and, cause a scene with her wild costumes, Because New York was fun, it would attract people from elsewhere that would come in to experience, the wild nightlife that New York had to offer at that time.
Who's this?
Well, you know who that is. That's Michael Alig, who was, the king of the club kids. And that was at the Limelight, which was, club kid headquarter. I just loved the phenomena of it, because it really was like being transported into this, wacky universe.
It was like show for the sake of show, right? I mean, just kind of...
And those kids were great. They were turning out the outfits and stuff. And also, you scratch the surface, and they were very interesting people.
Yeah.
It wasn't just people that were completely into costuming.
Have you seen or interacted with Michael Alig since he's returned from prison?
No, I haven't. But I would, if I saw Michael, where you been? What do you say to him?
Kabuki?
Yep, Kabuki's with the horns. This is like a Wednesday night, you know what I mean? The Disco 2000 party, which was Michael Alig's biggest party, was in midweek. And it was really interesting because it was actually mostly, I would say, straight kids from Jersey and outer boroughs. And ecstasy was the drug. And it had this incredible energy. And then the club kids, et cetera, were probably like 10% of the equation in some ways, but they were worshipped by these, 90% masses.
Billy Beyond.
Billy was famous in the drag scene because Todd Oldham, who was, quite a big designer back then, put Billy on the runway as a drag queen model.
Right.
And, caused, quite a buzz, got Todd and Billy a lot of attention. Drag was kind of chic, in these like the high fashion world. That's my friend Paige. She's the subject of my book, Pages. And it's all just photos that I took of Paige. And she was a very arresting model. And we had a great rapport. So I got some really great photos of her. And this small publishing company in Brooklyn called Paradigm approached me and put out a book. I'm very happy. If you went to my website, lindasimpson.org, you could certainly find the information.
I love this picture.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and you probably recognize in red is Candis Cayne. In the middle is Honey Dijon, who's a DJ now. And in the white blouse she was known then as Girlina. Now she goes by Lena. I got permission from all of these girls to show this photo because they've all gone and transitioned. I think that's really common for a lot of trans girls to start out in the drag community because it's, somewhat it is connected to what they're doing, presenting themselves as a female, and then they either realize or are able to take that realization they already have further and go beyond, and then often leave the drag world behind.
Who's this?
Obviously, that's RuPaul, and whatever happened to her. And then she's with Willi Ninja. It's a great picture because it's like two icons, Ru was still to achieve success, and Willi back then was the best known of the voguers. Ru's success was incredible because, the great majority of the attention went to her, but it started this huge media explosion, and then pop culture came next. Drag was a huge trend then. And it was the first time really that drag collectively in modern history became part of the mainstream.
It's another Ru shot.
That's Ru in the basement of the Pyramid Club. And Ru, I was promoting a party called Channel 69, and Ru was a headliner. She would do a show probably once every, several months, And Ru was, quite the star on the downtown scene. Whenever she performed, there was a bit of a buzz, and it was fun to have her in the house, so to speak.
What's happening in this moment?
Well, she wanted a little privacy, so I think she set up a sheet so she could talk, perhaps.
And this is?
Well, in purple hair is Sophia Lamar. And then, of course, the very famous Amanda Lepore. And then Richie Rich, who was, one of the most prominent club kids. There was, a real sense of colorfulness, that still pervades a lot of the New York clubs. But, this was, an intense moment. Oh, did you take that?
Yes.
That is hilarious. Where is that?
It's coming up the stairs into Marion's. I think you were hosting some Floyd event there.
Oh, I think it was a benefit?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a great photo.
Do you miss that time in New York City?
Yeah, I kind of do sometimes. And it's not, part of it's just being nostalgic for youth, but part of it was because I was really connected with a really great network of queens.
And there's a big sense of, I always felt like a big sense of creativity going on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
A lot of insanely creative people doing crazy, insane, creative things after midnight.
Yeah, and New York is, a harsh place to live in many ways. So, the nightlife serves as a real vital kind of living room for a lot of people.
Yeah. There's a drag scene in New York now, obviously, there's always been one. Would you say you're kind of like a godmother to these Brooklyn queens or the kids?
Drag history often gets kind of, thrown aside. And so I think for some people, and including younger people, to see this kind of maybe gives appreciation of me and my cohorts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And show that we're not that much different than what they're doing now in many ways. It was just sort of different circumstances.
Thank you for bringing your show to the world. educating us all.
Thank you very much. I just want to do, if I can do one shout out.
Yes.
I've done the Drag Explosion slideshow mostly in New York, but I did have my first out of New York showing in LA.
Yeah.
Brought up by the One Archives, that LGBT Archives, and Dirty Looks LA. So I'm grateful to those people.
I like Dirty Looks too. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate
Linda
it,
Simpson,
John.
ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
And don't forget to subscribe to WOW Presents.